This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
I want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Team Top Cat Sales. Are you looking for team apparel for your high school, your club sports team, or corporation? Look no further than Top Cat Sales, located on the east side of Main Street in downtown Royal Oak, between 11 and 12 Mile. Through founder and former University of Michigan QB John Wangler's leadership, Top Cat Sales has developed a tradition of selling and distributing custom Adidas team apparel with the highest quality and best service. Get your organization, school, or club team all in with Adidas today by going to topcatteamsales.com. That's topcatteamsales.com. Also, follow Top Cat on Twitter at Team Top Cat.
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Hello, Detroit. Welcome to another podcast on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. This is the DocNJock Sports Program. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin, fresh off a 5-mile run, Adam the Jock Strozinski.
You're like, I brought you flowers and I threw some candy at you. Now get naked.
What's up, cuz?
I'm sweating all over the gear in here, man. It's not good. Hey, I got a question for you. So last night, me and the wife, we ended up going out, and we had a couple friends who were out and about in the city. So they said, sent us a message, said, hey, you want to meet us up for a quick minute, have a drink? We said, all right, sure, no problem. So we go to the bar, have a drink, and on our way out, we get through the door, and my one cousin's talking to another guy, and I can hear them say, like, hey, is that Adam? Is that diabetic Adam? So he was like, yeah. So then they like yelled for me. So I come back into the bar real quick, and they're like, oh, hey, this is such and such. And he's like, dude, I haven't seen you since basically it was like first or second grade. And I was like, no way. Like, you know how you see somebody, you don't remember them at all, but you pretend like you know them and you remember them. Have you ever done that?
You're a dick.
Yeah, pretty much. So I totally pretended like I remembered this guy. Don't remember him. I kind of can place him a little bit, but it's really vague. I mean, honestly, this is going back to first or second grade. You know how many concussions I've had since then? I've been dropped on my head and hit in the face so many damn times. I have brain cells that are just gone. So I feel real bad because I pretended like I knew him. I don't necessarily remember him. Have you ever done that? Am I the only one who's done that?
No, I've done it before.
Totally awkward.
Yeah, you try to be like, yeah, how's everything going? You try to move the subject along.
Yeah.
I'm bad with names. Like
The thing, he told me his name, and the moment I got in my car, I couldn't remember his name to save the life of me.
So if you get to know me for a while, I'm like, hey, boss, or sir, or something like that.
What's up, chief?
What's up, chief? Yeah, exactly, because I'm just bad with names. There's just so many people I interact with. You got to remember, I have a practice. I see a lot of people, and sometimes, I have to admit it, sometimes I have to basically check the chart and remember people's names before I see them, because there's so many names that you go through that you kind of have to use a universal symbol if you're dealing with a lot of people. There are some people that are so like they're wizards. They can just see a person's face and they know their name. But yeah, you just try to move it along, be cordial. Did you get a sense that he knew that you didn't know?
I don't know, because it was later in the evening, and I was really trying to get out because my wife was really tired. I hope not. I hope I didn't, blow him off. I went home and I felt kind of bad because I couldn't remember him at all.
Well, it's not,
but he totally remembered me, like remembered everything about me. And I was like, why do you remember me, bro?
Are we having sex or not?
Like, it was first and second grade. What's going on?
Should we exchange numbers so that we don't have to keep doing this on Grindr?
Yeah.
And I'll just text you.
Like, dude.
Well, see,
I feel so bad right now about it.
A quick lesson. All you got to do is say, hey, good to see you. Good to catch up. What do you got going on? And you just tell them a little bit about yourself, and you keep it. You move it along from first grade. It's like, yeah, you just don't bring up the stuff like, hey, yeah, I remember you farted in first grade. You don't bring that up.
Right.
You just bring up, hey, what's going on with you now? Are you married? What's going on? And you bring it right to the present.
I feel like I should tell you that I like you.
And
I
that's
didn't
how
even
you
do that, dude. I just kind of, I like fast forward button, rushed it right along, and I was like, oh, I feel like I blew him off, and I feel kind of like a jerk about it. I don't know. Apparently knows my other cousin, so I'm gonna see if I can get the details and try to piece one and one together to maybe get two. Maybe I'll get 2.5. I don't know. I got to get this figured out because it's been bothering me all evening, into the day and into the morning. So
see, my problem is actively listening because people will drone on and on and on and on, and this is what goes through my head.
I don't give
And I got to be like, okay, well, what is he saying? What I miss?
You know what? It happens during the podcast. I see your eyes glaze over, and I'm like, he totally checked out. He's not even paying attention to anything I'm saying right now.
Oh, man. We got a great podcast. We're going to definitely talk about the Tigers and definitely something that came up in the media world. And I know both you and Vito have weighed in on it. And I'm very fascinated to get your opinion about what the hell the NFL is doing, especially with their media coverage with certain teams. But before we get into all that, I did check out something awesome on Netflix, and it's something that I haven't gotten into, but it was a very great documentary. You got to check it out. Quick 80 to 90-minute documentary. It's called Addicted to Sexting, and it gives the history and the current state of how people are interacting with their phones and with Snapchat, with text messages. It was awesome. And plus, there were some explicit scenes with some lovely young ladies. So I checked it out. I give it 5 stars. It was awesome. The wife's like, are you seriously watching this? She was totally tuned out, but I never got into it. Never, ever have sent an inappropriate message. Whatever is in between my legs has stayed there. It's never seen the light of day in terms of cell phones or nothing like that. I've never sent an inappropriate message to a girl, but there are some girls out there, guys, that are like addicted to it, where that's their primary form of saying, hey, I'm interested. I was old school. I was like, hey, you want to go on a date? Let's hang out. We actually had a couple-hour conversation at BW3s, and that's how I, wooed my wife. I was just able to talk to her and keep her engaged, and I was a psychologist, so I had a lot of interesting stories. So our first, interaction was like a 2.5-hour conversation. I cannot imagine myself posing with my leg up with a camera being like, hey now, but in the documentary at full mass and they're like in the documentary talking about how to take an appropriate one and what
it's all about the lighting and the angle, bro.
Oh man.
I don't know. I don't take them. I don't do it. Again,
what's it about? Why do people do this?
If you how much interaction have you had with the generation that's just
a lot
after us?
A lot.
You've had a lot of interaction.
Yes.
Okay. So they're built totally different, dude. They don't like to talk in person. Everything they do is through text message. So it's just another way of talking and communicating without actually verbalizing things. Everything they have to do is through texts, emojis, pictures. It's just one of those things. They struggle when you sit them down in front of. So if you're a guy, I have a guy on my hockey team. I have no qualms about it. He's a good-looking dude, right? Good-looking dude. He could be an underwear model. He struggles talking to chicks. Great-looking guy. Real good personality, but he turns into a cardboard box when he sits in front of a girl. He just struggles with it. He can text with them all day long. He can send them pictures and whatever, gets them to his place, does what he's got to do, opens the door, kicks them out, keeps it moving. But on the spot, I mean, I've seen the struggles with Vinny. With Vinny, I've seen the struggles. We've gone out to the bar before, and Vinny's got $1 million mouthpiece, and he's got a vocabulary that is sick. It's like a dictionary. All the words and all the terms that he can use and the things that he can say. It was the first thing that ever impressed me the first day I ever met Vinny. Just his vocabulary.
Why?
Because you're incredible when the things you say and the way you put things. You get him in front of a girl sometimes, he becomes a stammering idiot. And I'm just like, oh no! Are you nervous? What's going on? But you give that guy a Facebook page, you give him a Twitter page, he's going to take to that and he's going to make you laugh, he's going to make you smile, he's going to do just ridiculousness. But get in front of a pretty girl and have him try to do the same thing, it's a total disaster.
Yeah, but the part that is fascinating is that, and I kind of thought about it for a second. I'm like, man, do I wish I was 10 years younger? Would I ask a lady to send me inappropriate pictures?
Yes, you would. You know you would.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, man, we did miss out, but I've never done it. I'm not into it, but I don't get it. And I understand that people are young and they're impulsive and they don't think things through. But if you send something of yourself, you don't know where it goes. You don't know where it's saved.
You know all that stuff's backed up onto something.
And if someone sends something to me, who's the first person that's going to see it? You.
That's right.
Of course. So women should know this, that we're not, if you send something of yourself fully nude or explicit, all the guys are going to show it to them. Even if you tell them no, the guy lies to you.
Generally, that conversation goes, hey, you'll never guess what I got. Okay, what'd you get? Hold on, wait for it. Comes through my phone. And I'm like, whoa.
3 seconds after I get it, it's being forwarded. Come on now.
Who sent you that?
Right, and I really feel bad because there's, slut shaming going on with these high school girls. If it gets across, these young kids, it definitely understand where there can be problems with it. But as a young adult, getting addicted to it, where that's the only way you can communicate is by sending inappropriate things or taking it to that spot. So the documentary on Netflix was awesome. I liked it.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it was thought-provoking, and it really makes you go, wow, if I was younger, would I be on Tinder would I be on Snapchat a lot more and sending inappropriate things to people? I can see why Snapchat's successful, but you can still screenshot those things, but people will be aware of it. But, sexting is unbelievable, and the way it's presented and how people do it nowadays, these young dudes, man, they got it pretty good if they can, get some
if they get some action, right?
They can get stockpiled now with 126 gig iPhones. I wonder how.
Just backing it all up, bro. Backing it all up. It's like your mobile spank bank.
So you and I are at the same age range where we're both old and haven't done that too much.
Yeah, no, if I want to talk to a pretty girl, I'm just going to go talk to a pretty girl. I mean, I'm pretty loud, I'm pretty brash, and especially if I get a couple in me, no holds barred.
Would you think to do that, texting inappropriately to spice things up with the missus now? You've been married 3 years? Or are you just regular, like, let's get it on. It's time now. Let's get it on.
Yeah, it's, you know what? I probably would be able to do it a lot better than she would. She's not as
She would miss some cues.
Yeah, she's not as creative when it comes to certain things. Like she's very straight and narrow when it comes to a lot of stuff. I mean, she has her mind works just in a totally different way, right? So like I can be creative and send just random ridiculousness, and she's gonna be like, "What are you talking about? What is that?" And I'm just like, "Hey, go along with it." She'd just be like, "I'm busy. I've got stuff to do." So yeah, no, no, never. I've never thought about doing that with the wife ever.
No, I'm explicit, but not through text message. Just, hey, it's time. That's it.
Let's do it.
The message I always get is, hey, you got to romance me. You can't just be talking like that.
You're like, I brought you flowers and I threw some candy at you. Now get naked.
That's right. Exactly. So I gotta be more eloquent with my with the choice of words I use when it's that time. That romance time. We got to get down to business.
Yeah, dude. Again, I don't think I'm ever going to sext anybody or take naked pictures of myself because, as much as I work out, I don't feel like I'm in the best of shape that I could be. So I don't want those pictures floating around. And, I've got this weird knack, especially if you mix alcohol into the mix. Girls tend to tell me things that they probably shouldn't tell me. So the conversation automatically sways from something, whether it be serious, lighthearted, or fun, to something totally sexual and deviant. And it in a matter of 10 minutes, it'll happen. And the next thing you know, we're going down this path of, oh, hey, well, how do you like this? Where do you want that? Do you like your hair pulled? Do you like to be spanked? Do you like to be choked? It just, you know what I'm saying? Different things. So it just, in a matter of moments, for some reason, my personality just kind of, I guess, lowers those walls that they put up, and they feel the need to tell me these things. And I'm cool with it. It's been like that since high school, so I just roll with it.
You're like, hey, no problem. If you're willing to share, I'm willing to listen.
That's right. And then I just exacerbate it.
So if it was a female who remembered you from the first grade, you'd be like, yes, I remember you. We were friends.
Chances are, if it was a female, I probably would have remembered her.
Let's see.
But yeah, I couldn't remember Billy Bob for whatever reason, man. I'm struggling with it right now.
My goodness. Well, because some things have been going down with the NFL that, again, we've talked about several things throughout the course of this podcast regarding some things that the NFL has been doing recently, some more bad news and bad pub regarding the fact that they, commissioned a $30 million study regarding CTE, and yet they said that they didn't have influence, but when you shell out $30 million, you're going to have influence. So that study basically has been debunked, and it's bogus because the NFL has been trying to control the message and kind of, limit what exactly the true nature of that study is. And then you got information regarding how NFL teams have been changing their media policies. So a report came out on Tuesday that the Buffalo Bills have restricted and changed their media policy in terms of how their media can cover the team. And so I'm interested in that kind of stuff, just based on the fact that we talked to Josh Katzenstein. He introduced that subject to us by saying that, Ndamukong Suh was a pain to try to talk to, and that his work since 2014 on the Lions beat has just been an absolute struggle to try to get information, to try to get things out. Now you got Jim Caldwell, who is just the PC police. He doesn't try to, he's like, check the report, check this, check that, doesn't give the media great access. And the Lions are starting to be known as a team that isn't media friendly. And now you have situations where now other broadcasters are reporting and talking about the fact that they can't get credentialed if they say particularly nasty things, maybe on the radio. You had Chris Ayat from MLive. He recently left his job to go do social media type things. Ryan Schuling from 92.1 invited him on his program, and Chris said, well, yeah, maybe I could do that. Now I don't have fear of being fired based upon what I say. it brings about a lot of points that we can discuss. And you and Vito being guys that, studied journalism and got degrees in that, it's a very fascinating subject. How tough it is to be a media member and how tough it is nowadays, because you got to play the game. You got to be willing to befriend the team and do and say the right things in order to keep your job or keep your credential. It's something that, when Ryan came on Vito's podcast, he said, there's something called freedom of the press. And teams are starting now to kind of limit that, and it's not a good sign. It's not a good road to be going down.
Here's the thing. When it comes to the NFL and it comes to media access, they're probably the most restrictive league out of everybody. If whatever is coming out, if they don't have their hand in it or they're not the one pushing it, then they claim it's all false and there's no validity to whatever's coming out. And they'll sit there and they'll discredit and they'll ruin reporters. They've done it in the past. Here's how a general day goes if you are on the NFL beat. If you're covering, say, the Lions, you're covering the Chargers, the Raiders, anybody, the Buffalo Bills for this instance, because this is their new media policy. You show up at practice. Basically, the guys are stretching out. There might be a few guys running up and down the sidelines. You may see a kicker kicking a ball. They're basically stretching out, getting loose for their practice. That's the open practice. That's what you're allowed to see. That goes on for probably about a half an hour. Generally, it's about 20 minutes, but it might go a little bit longer, maybe a half an hour. You might see 5 plays of their organized practice. After that, you're shuffled out of the practice facility. You go sit in a media room, and basically you wait. You wait till practice is done, so then you can go have your time with the players. You can go interview the coaches. You can go get the information that you're looking to get. What is an unwritten rule and is basically, maybe it is a written rule. It's on the back of your credential. You can't report on certain packages. You can't report on the player personnels that are in these packages. You can't report on specific plays. You as a reporter, you're supposed to have a moral conscience and you're supposed to know better than to do that. So it goes without saying. You don't report on this because this will affect the game. You're not supposed to have any impact on the game. Your job as a reporter is to sit there, see what you're seeing, report the facts, tell what is going on. So during the stretch period and during that 30-minute open time, you can take some photos. You're not really talking to players because they're warming up. They're getting ready to go do work. All that gets pushed towards the back end of everything. And when you have your time with the players and the coaches, that's all done after the practice. What is really kind of concerning with the Buffalo Bills media policy is you can't talk about players throwing a football. You can't talk about players dropping a football. You can't talk about players running a route or you can't even sit there and speculate on an injury if somebody comes up a little bit lame or limping. And this is something that has been allowed for pretty much ever now. Basically, what the Buffalo Bills are now doing is saying, if it doesn't come from us, you're not allowed to report it, which gets into some murky territory because now they control the message. There is no unbiased source. It's all coming from the team. And again, this goes back to team reporting and team news people and team media. So it becomes very biased. And as a reader, you're kind of left in the lurch here because you're like, look, I need some clarity. I need to know what I'm getting is factual and what I'm getting isn't sugar-coated. I want to be told what is actually going on. And what the Buffalo Bills are trying to do is they're trying to sit there and put sugar all over your cornflakes and tell you that they're Frosted Flakes. That's exactly what it is. So initially when I seen this, and we had a little bit of a back and forth on Twitter about it, it didn't really surprise me because the NFL is the worst at controlling the message that goes out. I mean, you said it yourself with the CTE study. They pledged $30 million, and then they found out that it was going to be a doctor from Boston College who was doing it, and he was critical of the NFL before, and they said, you know what, we're pulling our funding, and then they sat there and they tried to cover that up. And Roger Goodell has been at the forefront of all of these cover-ups, trying to sit there and trying to keep the shield clean and untarnished, and really and truly he's just making it even worse. So the NFL has to control the message that you are receiving as a fan, as a person who's taking in this form of media, as a person who is either doing fantasy football or just in and around the atmosphere of football. The NFL has to control what you're getting and how you're hearing it.
Yeah, and so the reason why, again, it was put in the forefront of my mind is I'm a consumer of information. And a guy like Jason Barrett, who's a former radio program director, now has a great website. And what he does is he kind of comments on the media, the goings-on in radio across the country. And he wrote a very interesting piece, which I tweeted out on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. And I just briefly asked him a question, is that he wrote an article titled, why the media can't be trusted any longer. And it's a great article. He lays down, why media nowadays is different, that it's just, a situation where teams are trying to, put out messages that reporters have these, ulterior motives, and the role of a journalist has totally changed in the better part of the last decade. And as a consumer, I asked him a question. I'm like, I think most people nowadays have question marks regarding journalists. Our viewing, reporters and newspapers and information really is just entertainment, because they do realize that, a team can go out there and just kind of filter the information to their own reporters on their own websites. And so what's really the purpose of a guy there? He's just basically, and a word that Ryan Schuling used is, they're just mouthpieces. They're just basically out there to record what's being said because we're not there, and basically regurgitating it out in a fast way, in a creative way, in their outlet, whether it be a blog or a newspaper. Now you have guys that are super creative that went outside the box, like a Bill Simmons, who became super popular because of the fact that he grew a website so big, he got that inside access. But there's struggles with that. But as a guy outside the field, I look at the field of journalism, and that's why I love doing the one-on-one podcast, is I get to ask these kind of questions like, hey, are you being forced to write articles to get clicks? Are you being pressured to not say this and not say that? Basically, what teams are doing, and what makes it hard for a consumer like me, is all they're doing is just being politically correct, sending out messages that are, in essence, PR. And just as an outsider, I look at it like journalists have it so tough, and people are getting fired on these websites. People are leaving the field. There aren't too many journalists out there. And a guy that was greatly respected around town was Joe Falls. And I remember as a kid reading the newspaper, reading his critical articles, reading the stuff that he would write about the Tigers. He was critical. He would ask these super tough questions trying to get the truth, which is what I believe the media is supposed to do. Go out there and be the conduit of, me as a fan, just sitting in my office or sitting here and wondering about these type of things. Your job is to go out there and ask these questions. There's a few out there in the Detroit media that are doing it, but all in all, globally, the field of journalism needs to improve, and guys like you, Vito, hosts, need to go out there and say, hey, my credential got pulled because I said this and this. It got exposed with Mike Valeni.
I was going to say, a prime example in our own back door is Mike Valeni in 97.1. That was the team trying to force a filter on a host and telling him what to do and how to do it. They even went so far as to strip him from his duties on a Sunday morning doing pregame and postgame shows. So this is a team now dictating what has to be done. In the end, CBS and the heads of CBS said, you know what? We're good. We don't need you. You guys can go away and kick your can. He's much more important to our station than you guys are. That's why the Detroit Lions went over to WJR, where they now have a say in what you're going to hear and how it's going to be presented to you. It was because CBS didn't want to sit there and bend. And again, it's just a team trying to dictate the rules, a team from the NFL much more, trying to dictate the rules and tell you how to do your job.
But see, now that's the part that maybe we can ask from the other perspective. As a team, don't you think it's better just to be real with your fans? I mean, the majority of people that follow sports aren't stupid. I know there are going to be some people that just buy everything that's spun by the team. Oh, everything's great. Oh, JV, his contract is now worth it again because he's had a couple good a good stretch run. Oh, the Tigers are great. And why I love doing this is we're beholden to nobody. There is no outside influence controlling what we say. We're looking at sports and we're giving our opinions based upon what we're seeing. There's nobody coming in and telling me, hey, you need to kind of spin it in a way that's positive towards the Tigers. We try to give them credit when it's due. We give them blame where we see fit, and we give our honest opinions. Why don't the teams take that approach? Why are they trying to control the message when, as a sports fan, it just makes you look dumb? It makes you look like, okay, I understand you're a business and you're trying to spin it in a positive way, but if you were more real with me, I'd be more willing to invest in your product. If you're just trying to spin me all the positive and kind of poo-poo the negative, then I'm looking at you cross-eyed.
I think 3 out of the 4 teams, the major teams in this area, do that. You don't ever see articles with the Detroit Tigers or the Detroit Red Wings coming out saying that they're trying to curtail the message or curve it or shade it in a certain light. And even when the Pistons were atrocious, when they were on 97.1, 97.1 killed them. They would sit there and talk about how Joe D was making all kinds of bad moves and making mistakes left and right. And there was never an issue where that got shaded or filtered in a certain way.
But there's maybe an underlying unwritten rule that has been filtered like, hey, if you report in this certain manner, you'll keep your credential. And if you don't, then potentially you will no longer be at your job. Because the main example used is...
You're right. The
main example
the teams control your credential and control your access.
But the main example used by a lot of people is, why isn't Tony Paul covering the Tigers? You know, he was passed over when he is the most qualified individual to cover the team based upon his skill level, based upon his experience. A lot of people are pointing to, wait a minute, what's going on here? Has the Tigers gone to the Detroit News and said, hey, we'll maybe add a credential or we'll take some away if this guy's on the beat? And so a lot of people are asking those kind of questions going like, hey, are these teams and are the beat writers kind of in tandem going, okay, I'll only go to a certain point, but I won't go over that in order to keep my credential. And the reason why I got activated was Al Avila came out and was like, oh, no, the beat writers that are here every day, they're giving you the real deal. But in essence, you're the one that is controlling who gets a credential. Like you and I could apply for a credential from the Tigers based upon this Detroit Sports Podcast Network. They may look at it, may listen to some things we've said and say, no, that's not true freedom of the press.
Like, I don't ever believe we'll get a Lions credential because we've slaughtered the Lions. What is this? 145? Episode 145? 146. So, I mean, we slaughtered the Lions on more than half of these shows. So we'll never get a press credential for the Lions. But no, you're right. You're right. They do have some modicum of control as to who's going to be reporting, who's going to have access, and how much access you'll be given. Going back to the Buffalo Bills media policy, if Rex Ryan likes a reporter, he can bring them into practice, and he can sit them down during practice, and they can watch the whole practice. That might not be open to all the other 16 reporters that are covering the beat, but if he likes one of them and he has a good relation with one of them, he'll bring him in. He'll even sit there and talk to him about the plays that he's going to run and how it's going to work in a game. So when it happens in a game, that reporter will know. So, I mean, it's really weird. What is going on are the teams want all the power. They want all the control. And if they're doing something wrong, they don't want you to tell them that they're doing wrong. They don't want the fan to know that, hey, they're screwing this up. You know, they want it all to be painted, you know, with rosy colors and everything to be painted in a great light. And it doesn't work that way. And you're right, it's not right. But again, this is the system that it is because the teams, you as a beat reporter, you have to basically work and cover that team. You have a responsibility to your readership and to your newspaper to go and get information, report that information, make sure it's factual. Don't sit there and just create stories. We've seen that with certain journalists in this area. Two big ones, for example, come to mind. And you have to not sit there and just invent stories to sit there and either shade a team in a certain light or to sit there and just try to, like you said, get web clicks. You have to go, you have a responsibility to your readership to go and find the news and deliver it and be as concise and be as factually responsible as possible. The issue comes when the team wants to step in and they want to limit your access.
And so that's why, even though we talk about the ticket and 105.1, they are still partners with teams. So I understand that relationship that, hey, you know, we're partners here. We're, you know, investing in the station financially. We expect, okay, you to be fair, but there still is a line. What I think when I ask myself, okay, what should happen and what should happen in the field of journalism, what should happen is there needs to be a movement by journalists to start their own independent websites and to do their own work and to get so popular based upon their work that they can have access and to deliver the message appropriately. That's what's fair and honest. When you have...
Good luck feeding a family that way.
Hey, that's what I'm saying is that there are tough circumstances that have to happen. But if you have talent, if you have the motivation to build relationships, if you have the ability to be creative and have an outlet, then you can build a website in town that will get hits and that will be very popular and that will allow you to be successful. That's why I'm saying for the field of journalism, it has to improve. It has to go in a different direction because all that's going to happen is now you got websites being run by athletes that get information now. You got team-run websites. In essence, what's happening is the teams are steadily, slowly trying to squeeze out the reporter.
Exactly.
They're trying to cut
that's right.
job out of the business.
Yeah. The reporter, their position has to evolve into something else. It will have to transform for them to be relevant. When going back to what you're saying about the ticket and about Detroit Sports 105.1, you're right. There is a line. You can't get personal. You can't be like, Oh, well, Mike Ilitch is an idiot because he does X, Y, and Z. Or Al Avila is a jerk because X, Y, and Z. You keep it about the team. You talk about what is going on with the team. If Al Avila makes a move in the offseason that is either A, great, you praise him. If he makes a move that is a complete disaster, you can sit there and you can bag on him. You keep it about the team. You don't make it a personal issue.
Whether it's underlying or overt, I still believe that there's still a bias. I mean, it might not be where you can say everything you want, but there's still a bias there because you do know that if you say certain things, someone's going to call you and you may lose your job. So that's why it's an implicit relationship. You understand that, hey, we can talk about certain things, but the truth, quote unquote, which is the job of a journalist, may be a little bit muddled in that situation when you're working for a partner with the team. That's all I'm saying, is that you may not be willing to say what's exactly going on, because I'm sure these guys at the stations have information that they can't release because of their job status or things like that. The object of journalism is to be truthful, to ask questions, and also to reveal some things that maybe are being squelched or are being kind of hidden. And so if you're a partner with a team, then you may not be willing to do that, or you just can't. It won't be aired, or you'll be in a situation where you may say it, but you'll face some serious repercussions. That's a problem.
I don't know. I think both radio stations do a pretty good job
yeah.
of disseminating information and keeping everything on the up and up.
Oh, but don't you hear when the Pistons have a 2-game winning streak, then some of the tone of the shows are like, oh, the Pistons are back. Even the guy that you do the web show with, Justin Rose, was referencing the Ryan and Rico show, where they came up with an idea that the Pistons are the second best team in the East after this season. Where's that coming from?
Yeah,
Come on now. That can't be a real opinion.
But do you believe that is because...
That's not a real opinion.
But do you believe that's because the team came in and said, hey, you have to do this? Because what I see that as two guys trying to get creative and drive phone calls. It's different. You're trying to drive phone calls. You want people to call in, and you want people either like you or like me to take a side and make an argument, and then you go back and forth.
I think it's a smart radio host who knows that he's working on a station that has the Pistons on it, so it's nice to say a comment like that.
I don't see it like that. I see it as them trying to do their job every single day, and what happens is, at this time of the season...
The Pistons are the second best team in the East after this season?
Just wait, let me finish. At this time in the season, you have basically baseball. You have baseball and you have baseball. OTAs are just getting underway. There's nothing to report there. Not yet, anyways. In the next couple weeks, you'll start seeing some fluff pieces come out about different players on the team, and basically all they are their feature stories, and it's because that's what the beat writers have to report about right now. You've got to do a feature story. You got to do something interesting, so you as a reader get to learn about whoever. So there'll be still, then what they can do is they can gear topics towards that, but for right now, all you have is baseball. The playoffs are going on. At the time, the Cavaliers were rolling through everybody. They were 10-0. What are you going to do? Who played the Cavs the toughest thus far up to that point where they were 10-0? It was the Pistons. The Pistons almost eked out 2 or 3 wins in their series before they got rolled and swept out of the playoffs. So I think it's just two guys trying to drive calls, trying to drive listenership. Let's be honest about it. 105.1 has struggled in the ratings. They have struggled. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not candy coat it. Let's not even beat around a bush. They have struggled mightily. All right. And that's just what's going on over there. So you've got two guys who have been in this area for a long time. They have been doing their jobs for a very long time. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get guys like you and me, guys like you who are listening, to call and to sit there and to take a side and get into an argument with them, or to converse about it and either agree with them or not. And that's all it is. I don't think that's because the Pistons are like, oh, hey, guess what? We sat there, we played 3 really good games against the Cavs. Don't you think we're the second best team in all of the land in the East? I don't think the Pistons came and told them that. I think it's just two guys trying to do their job every day.
Okay, with sports being such a big business, do you see the Lions and other NFL teams going this route in terms of squeezing the media and imposing restriction upon restriction and creating their own websites, creating their own media situation? Look, we talked about it a couple weeks back. The Tigers and Red Wings potentially are going to start their own channel. They're going to, squeeze out potentially Fox Sports Detroit. And what's going to be on that channel? It's going to be a bunch of fluff and a bunch of positive spin messages that, hey, the Red Wings have been in the postseason 27 years in a row. We're on the, we have a bunch of young talent, and it's going to be a bunch of PR on their own station that they're going to charge us for. So do you see this way? Do you see teams going this route, and is there a way to combat it? Or are we just facing the inevitable that we're going to have to digest media reports from the teams themselves instead of from respected journalists?
what you're going to have is you're going to have basically two systems set up. You will have the team website and you will have the team information, and you will have to deal with that. And that right there may be useful. There may be some good stories, but there will always be a need for a reporter doing their job, telling you what is actually going on, giving you the unbiased truth. There will always be a need for that, and it will have to sit there and somehow, like I said, evolve. It will have to change. Whether now you do it with video, whether now you sit there and you do more of a multimedia type of reporting, whether you, like you said, go start your own website, go do your own thing where you don't have anybody to answer to but your readership. It will have to evolve. But there will always be the need for the reporter and for the unbiased report of what is actually going on.
So I'm going to ask you maybe a tough question, but I want to see what your thoughts are about it. So the Detroit Lions come to you and they say, hey, we've read your work on DetroitSportsPodcast.com. We know that you're a talented media guy. We're going to offer you a six-figure job working in public relations on our website, DetroitLions.com. Now, you have another offer on the table, less than that, half that, to work at the Detroit News, covering the beat with the restrictions potentially that you have. Would you take a job with the Detroit Lions and knowing that it's going to be PR and that you're not going to be able to say, hey, the running game sucks, Jim Caldwell needs to go out, this and that. Basically, you're going to be given this guy with this information to spin this message. Would you take that job with both offers on the table? They're solid offers. You could have either job. You could be secure financially and, work in PR for the team, or you can be a journalist and, seek the truth. Both offers on the table. What would you lean towards?
Well, if it's a PR job and I'm not being a reporter, I'll probably take the PR job.
Well, is it
semantics here?
Yeah, it's semantics. The reporters at the Lions are PR. They're not reporters. They're not journalists. They're just spinning the message for the Lions. They're not. Those are not journalists.
Call Tim 20 Min up and
he's not. He is not a Lions journalist. He's Lions PR, and we all know it. Everyone knows it. But he's got. I give him credit. He earned that job. He gets scoops. He does present information to the fans. I'm sure he's paid okay, but he's not going to spin things in a way that's appropriate.
Six-figure deal compared to, I think, starting pay
40
for a journalist, if that.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to take the six-figure deal just because I need the security right now in my life.
No, and that's fair. That's a fair answer. Okay. And
in the meantime, though, don't be surprised if a website pops up and it's under some different name, different byline, and it's giving you some legit scoops on some legit stuff. Or don't be surprised if you start coming up with some really hot takes on things that are going on because somebody's disseminating some information to you.
That's right.
Don't be shocked.
That's right. You'll become a source. No doubt about it. We're wondering, where's this information coming from?
Unnamed sources.
Unnamed sources. That's right. And so it's interesting talk. But yes, we definitely need to disseminate between what's PR and what's journalism. And people need to be aware of that, is that what the teams are doing is trying to impose more PR than real journalism. It's not a dying field, but it's slowly but surely looking that way, that it's really hard to be a journalist nowadays. And I give credit to those that try it, that write, and that really do stick up for themselves and to really ask the questions that the people want. There are some in this town, for sure. You just go look for it and find them out, and you'll definitely be aware of who's asking the real questions, who's seeking the truth, and who's out there looking to assist in the game that's going on between the teams and the newspapers.
Absolutely, you're right on. You don't always have to be negative. You just have to present what is actually going on, what's taking place. The readers in the Metro Detroit area, they are smart enough. They know what is going on. You just have to go out there and you have to find the reporters who want to sit there and tell you actually what is going on.
All right, let's take a quick timeout. Come back. We got a round of Jock Jams, and we're going to definitely peek in on the Tigers. We have to give them credit for the week that was. Despite whatever reasons you may give, the Tigers are on a roll, and it's good to see. Doc and Jock, episode 146, Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Doc and Jock here for Fanatic U. If you're looking for some sweet sports swag and you love your Detroit teams, and I mean you really love your Detroit teams, you got to check out FanaticU.com and get the coolest gear out there and rock your Red Wings shirt, rock your Lions shirt, rock your Piston apparel. Wear it till the wheels fall off. Michigan State, you know what? They got it too. Check out Fanatic U. They have 6 locations all over Metro Detroit. Check them out, FanaticU.com.
SAWFT.
Thanks to everybody that's been consuming the information and the podcast on this fine network. Definitely check out the other podcasts, the Motor City Sports Rant, Hindsight 20, the One-on-One podcast, the Basketball podcast, Vito's Tigers Talk, DocNJock, the Vinny Stubbs Show, Fantasy Nerds, anything at all regarding Detroit sports. Check it out here on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We're no rinky-dink operation. We're trying to keep this above board. We definitely are passionate individuals who love talking about Detroit sports in a semi-professional manner. All right, sir, you ready for Jock Jams?
Emphasis on semi.
Semi, definitely. We have to be honest. This is what we call Jock Jams. I got 3 great questions lined up for Adam, and he's definitely going to deliver. Because for some reason, there's been a little bit of a Pittsburgh in the air in Detroit sports with you and Justin talking on the web show, which I give you credit, almost viewed 7,000 times. I was like, yes, I was excited when you guys told me you were displaying it via Facebook Live because they got a huge platform, so I know you got some good exposure. When I saw in the initial numbers, I was like, bada boom, baby, that was awesome. But, with Pittsburgh being in the Stanley Cup semifinals, and you got now news broke since 89 or 99, the Lions haven't practiced with other squads. And I watch Hard Knocks religiously. And so you always get to see teams practice with other teams. But for the first time in 16 years, the Lions are going to have a preseason practice with none other than the Pittsburgh Steelers for a joint 2-day practice. Do you like this?
I think it could be good. Practice in OTAs and everything that goes on preseason, it's a real long time. And you're sitting there and you're just beating the tar out of each other as guys are jockeying for spots. Why not go beat up another team? And I think what this does is it sets up a beautiful situation for a guy like Darius Slay. You are going to go up against the best wide receiver. And I said, yes, the best wide receiver in all of the league with Antonio Brown. You get to match up one-on-one with him during practice for 2 days. I think that's a great opportunity. Also, I think it's great for this team because now you get to kind of see what you can do against everything's going to be vanilla. Everything's going to be almost dumbed down, but you get to see what your guys can do against other talent in the league. So I think it's a great measuring stick. I applaud this decision. The last time they did this, it was at Grand Valley State, and it was with the Carolina Panthers. So this is great. I think this will work out well for the team. Plus, who doesn't want to go hit somebody else? I mean, you get tired of beating up on the same guys, and if you're tired of getting beat up by the same guys, go get beat up by somebody else. A little bit more fun.
Yeah, and for the most part, there's probably going to be at least one scuffle that they can report upon.
Oh, yeah, I know. I can't wait for that. That was the first thing I thought of when I seen that report break, and I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. We're going to see who's going to get into a slugfest. It'll probably be Darius Slay and Antonio Brown. And don't be surprised if Antonio Brown doesn't go all Mortal Kombat and sits there and kick you in the face and then rip your heart out.
As we're recording this, the Oklahoma City Thunder are leading the Golden State Warriors 3-1 in a surprise to a lot of people. A lot of people had Golden State versus Cleveland already pegged for the NBA Finals. People are a little bit, now critical of Golden State and their toughness. Why is it that they're down 3-1? What's been going on with Draymond Green? Is Steph Curry really healthy? There was a report that came out that he wasn't healthy, but his coach came out today and said that, no, those reports are wrong. Our guy is 100% healthy. But your opinion, what is the reason why Oklahoma City is up 3-1? Is it mostly because of the emergence of KD and Westbrook? They're finally maturing and taking that next step, that evolution that happens in the NBA where teams on the come up tend to have a rival and they need someone to push them? Or is it because of Golden State and what they're not doing? Is the reason why the series is 3-1 more because of OKC, or is it because of Golden State's faults?
I think it's a culmination of just the perfect storm. Going into the series, you had the team leader get hurt, strain his knee, comes back, plays, looks well. Curry goes to dive for a ball in the stands, hurts his elbow. So now he's got 2 bendy joints that are totally out of whack. His knee's a little bit banged up, and I do believe the Yahoo report that came out and said that he's working at about 70%. I know Steve Kerr came out and said, no, he just had a lousy night, just deal with it and move on. But again, it's just like hockey playoffs. You'll come to find out, what's going on with Nicky Lidstrom. Oh, wait, he totally lost a ball playing hockey. His one nut totally had to go get surgery to have it removed because an injury took place. So don't be surprised if after this series is done, because I do believe it is over, that there'll be more news on Steph Curry coming out. So you have that taking place. You've got everything going on with Draymond Green that is getting underneath the skin of the Oklahoma City Thunder and vice versa. You've got him kicking guys in the nads in back-to-back games. You've got him tripping guys during games. It just there's this perfect storm surrounding Draymond Green and everything that is coming out with him. On top of it, Golden State's a jump shooting team. When your jump shots aren't falling, you're going to struggle. Now add to this storm, you've got Oklahoma City, and they play good defense. They play good team defense. On top of it, they are long, they're athletic, and they're tenacious. These are three things that are going to cause a little bit of a crimp in style for a team like Golden State. And then, like you said, the maturing, I think Westbrook and Kevin Durant have figured out a way to sit there and play off of each other, even when Westbrook's going to sit there and jack up 60 shots a game. You know, as long as KD gets his touches, Westbrook can do whatever he wants to do. And he is an amazing talent. He is showing his emergence as a possible superstar in this league. So I think it's just a culmination of things that are going on. I think Golden State's gotten cold at the wrong time. I think the injuries are playing a part. I think Draymond Green's antics during this series have helped fuel the fire with Oklahoma. On top of that, you've got Westbrook and you've got Kevin Durant hitting their stride at just the right time. And I think all this is just kind of melding itself into this, I guess, brain buster for basketball fans. I mean, you got a team that won 73 games and they just lost back-to-back games for the very first time this season, and it looks like they're on their way out of the playoffs. So I think it's a perfect storm.
What percentage chance would you see, in your mind, a final series versus OKC versus Toronto?
10%.
Okay. You still think Cleveland comes back and takes it?
Look, I can't stand LeBron James, but he is one of the most impactful players in all of the NBA. They've got 2 games left on home court, and Toronto has struggled playing in Cleveland thus far through this series. So, yeah, I think that Cleveland will win, whether it goes to Game 6 or Game 7. I think Cleveland wins that series.
Okay, another report has kind of filtered out via Twitter that Pavel Datsyuk is closer, ever so close now, to signing a 2-year deal with a Russian squad in the KHL. Do you believe...
Is it SKA St. Petersburg? Is that what it is?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm just looking at the scenario in which he's going to leave the team high and dry with a $7.5 million tab for his services. Do you believe that Pavel Datsyuk is close to signing this deal, and has he made the right decision to step away from the NHL and go play in a more tax-friendly environment over there in Russia? And I do believe, in my opinion, that it's a situation that is one that really hurts the Red Wings. It's better for him, and it's a tough spot for the Wings to be in right now.
Actually, I think the deal's already done, and I think this helps out both sides. Pavel Datsyuk, as much as everybody loves the guy, he is taking many, many steps back each and every season. He's not the player he used to be.
But he had a lot of points this year. He was pretty much a consistent contributor, not in terms of goal scoring.
Somebody's got to score. Somebody's got to set the other guys up. He's on the ice, I think, 20 minutes a game. So with the amount of ice time that he sees and the line that he plays on, somebody's got to get the points. He's a forward. He still has a little bit of magic left in his stick there. I just think that he is, every year, it's not just one step back. It's becoming 2 and 3 steps back. He can't ever stay healthy for a whole season. It's always an issue. I think the deal's already done. I think he's going to go to Russia. That's fine. Go ahead. Go. I think this works out perfect for the Detroit Red Wings because now you have the $7.5 million that you are stuck with this tab. One, I hope it teaches Ken Holland not to sign these ridiculously long contracts, these 7-year deals. I think they're stupid. I think they're insane. All right, that's number one. Number two, you've got this $7.5 million tab. What do you do with it? You can trade it to another team that needs to get to the basement of the salary cap. You do that. You now have $7.5 million to go out there and get another player. Add that to Brad Richards' money that's coming off the books. I think that's about $1 million, maybe $1.5 million. Add that to Kyle Quincy's money that's coming off the books. I think that's somewhere closer to $3 million, maybe $4 million. All right, you've got some money now. There's a guy out there named Steven Stamkos. If you really want to go get an impact player, there's a guy out there. He's there. Go get him. Go get him. Promise him whatever you got to promise him. Make him sign that deal. He said he wanted somewhere near $10 million a year. I think that's ridiculous. But if you think that your team is close and that you guys can compete and you've got talent that's coming up next year that's going to make an impact, you can sit there, push some of these older guys out, do away with some of these veterans, bring a guy like Steve Stamkos in, put him on your first or second line, pair him with a guy like a Dylan Larkin, who I believe will be your captain in probably 2 or 3 years to come, and go to work. Because Steven Stamkos, it'll be your first legit 50-goal scorer since I think you brought in Brett Hall. So it's been that long. Go get him. And instantly, this team is better. Not only did you just sit there and upgrade Pavel Datsyuk's position, you done it with a superstar. And now you add some superstar credibility to this team. Because when was the last time we had superstar credibility? It was back when we had a guy like a Brett Hall, a Luke Robitaille, a Sergei Fedorov in his prime. That was when we had superstars. We haven't had them since. Because as much as you love Pavel Datsyuk and as much as you love Henrik Zetterberg, to the rest of the league, they were just good guys. They weren't ever superstars.
Yeah, I got a question. Why did Ken Holland, after the rumors started circulating, come out and say that, oh, I don't think I'm going to trade the contract. I'm just going to eat the $7.5 million. If the cap was $150 million, fine. It's a small percentage, but that's not the cap. That $7.5 million represents a larger portion than anybody around town is comfortable with. Why did he come out and say that? And do you think now his stance will be budged and he'll actually try to get that money back? I mean, I'm still sensing that he's just like blasé, like, well, it's $7.5 million. We thank Pavel for his contributions. Let's just eat it.
I think he's trying to do right by the player, but the player's not doing right by the team. He signed this long-term deal. He even said himself that he wished he would have probably signed 1-year contracts instead of signing a 3-year extension. Well, that's great. Now we're stuck with your tab, and Pavel's came out and said, go ahead, just trade it away. Do what you got to do. Do what's best for the team. I think in the end, Ken Holland will be forced to trade it away. I don't think he'll be able to eat the money because this team needs to add some talent and add some scoring touch to it. And if you can go get a guy like Steven Stamkos, why the hell not? Why wouldn't you? If you don't do that, you need to be fired instantly. If you're not at least in talks or working towards something like that, if you can trade that money away, there's a bigger issue here. There is something else that Ken Holland just isn't either A, seeing or B, doing, and he needs to go because he has totally lost touch with what the NHL is.
Gotcha. Jock, you always bring the noise. You always deliver. Great round of Jock Jams, and I'm looking forward to future editions where we can break down what the hell's going on with the Pistons in the draft, what goes on with the Lions in this offseason, and other news and notes with the Tigers, man. Good stuff.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, one last timeout. We'll come back, and we have to talk about our Detroit Tigers. Above 500. Good times. Time to celebrate a little bit. Maybe. We'll see. Stay with us. Doc and Jock, episode 146 on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I want to tell everyone out there about DetroitSportsNation.com. They're a great website, and they've been very supportive to all the shows on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. They host all the podcasts. They have great writers that cover all the Detroit teams, all the college teams. Check out their website and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. The collaboration has been excellent, and it's helped us to continue to grow and have great guests take phone calls. So our collaboration with the Detroit Sports Nation has really been successful, and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com.
Yeah, we coming now. Come on. Yeah, that's right. We put it down. It's like a family in here, just a little disabled. Putting it down, we lay them out on the table. Yeah. Who's in the house? The brothers in the house. Gotta turn it on out, let you know what we about. Kinda like Cain and Abel, a bit unstable. Don't be breaking the brain, break the whole damn table.
Welcome back. Thank you for listening to the Doc and Jock podcast, going strong since September 2013. Each and every Thursday, you know what podcast you can download. Keeping it real, keeping it uncensored, and we definitely try to deliver passionate Detroit sports talk and some entertaining news and notes as well. Well, sir, as you know what sucks is that I'm not the greatest in terms of preparation. So here's what I did. I'm going strong, working, and I'm like in my mind with the basic assumption, hey, the Tigers usually have day games on Thursday. Let me see if I can finagle a schedule where I just don't work on Thursday. So finally it worked out after maybe 3 or 4 months of trying to finagle it and just moving one visit here, one visit there, and planning it out. So boom, today as this podcast drops, I'm off. I'm relaxed. I'm just going to sit at home and just plan for the weekend and just sit and try to sleep and enjoy whatever the day brings. Maybe I could go to a Tigers game at 1 o'clock because a lot of them are on Thursdays at 1. Oh, let's check the schedule. Oh, the 1 o'clock game is Wednesday as we're recording this right now. The Tigers are off ahead of a West Coast trip. So still as of yet in 2016, I have not trekked down to Comerica Park. I would have did it, but...
The man who is on the internet at all times, the guy who has Google at his fingertips, the guy who lives on Twitter, didn't think to check the schedule?
Well, yeah, but it's just one of those situations where you have to also line it up with the feasibility of letting it happen. So it worked out. It was this Thursday, but I mean, I can get to a night game or two here and there, but still have yet to go downtown. Tigers are off today. What am I going to do?
Sit back and enjoy it with the kids, I guess. I mean, that's what you're going to do, right?
Yes.
I mean, I follow your Snapchat. I see what you do with the kids. You have them stand there and you sit there and you put silly faces on them all the time.
It's cute, man. My kids are cute. You got to take pictures of them. I'm like, you know what? I got cute kids. I'm going to show them off.
Right.
Luckily, my Snapchat followers are like, what, 12? So all my videos have 12 viewers, so it's all good. So that's really good. Listen, we do, as we're sitting here having a good time, one of the reasons why we're able to be a little bit more jovial, a little bit more upbeat, is that the Tigers have put together some wins. Yes, it's against garbage opponents. Hell, I still think Philadelphia is better than what they're playing in this series. They're above 500, but hell, they've been playing a better brand of baseball. They're a better team to watch. Our superstars, are batting like superstars, excluding Justin Upton, but it's a more fun product to watch. And hell, even though they're playing teams that you may not think are great, they're winning these ball games. JV, throwing 97 in the 7th, 8th inning. My goodness, I was like, hey, now, that's the guy we're looking for. I know we can't dial it up all the time, and I know that we're going to be facing tougher competition as the season goes along. I'm just happy they're above 500. They're playing a better brand of Tigers baseball, and there's a lot of factors why they're doing that, but at the very least, the offense and the sticks are back, and it's nice to see.
Absolutely. You can sit there and you can count on a couple different things to help get them boosted up in the standings here. It's great that they're above 500. The bat's coming alive. That's number one. Miguel Cabrera is smashing the ball everywhere. It's great to see. The guy's sitting there. He unloaded one on Tuesday night that I think it was like 415 feet. If it was like 2 more feet, it would have been gone because he hit the top of the wall and the ball bounced back into play. So, Cabrera's getting hot. It's great to see. We're going to talk about that because I'm going to take you to task. The pitching looking great right now. Verlander, he called a shot. He said, hey, I'm going to dominate. His last 4 games, he's given up 4 runs in the course of the last 4 games. Amazing. The guy's been playing brilliant baseball. And, he's not sitting there trying to blow by you with a 102-mile-an-hour pitch. He's sitting there. He's switching up his pitches a little bit. He's using his arsenal a little bit better. On top of that, he's come out and he basically said, he's like, I used to look at scouting reports. Now I'm spending a little bit more time with them. I'm digesting them a little bit more. So I think he's realized that he doesn't have what he used to have. He can't just go out there and he can't just fire it by you. He's got to sit there and he's got to work on a few different things. And now he's taking his study sessions a little bit more seriously, and I think it's paying off. And now mixing the schedule, you're right. Philly's a decent team. They are an above 500 team. Everybody else throughout the course of this little stretch that they've had now where they've righted the ship has been below 500. You got to take advantage of the schedule when the schedule gives it to you. Going into this, you played one of the toughest schedules, and basically you got taken to the woodshed. Now you get to come back, and you get to take these teams to the woodshed. You're going to go on this road trip. I expect you to win 4 out of 6 games on this road trip. I want you, when you go to Chicago, I need you to win 2 games there. It's how it has to get done. You have to win series over the course of the long period. And I think they're trending this way right now. They look very good. Very, very good.
Is JV back, or is this a product again of the schedule? Is JV back in full form? Are you confident that after that awesome tweet where he says, hey, doubt me, I will be dominant again? Last couple performances have been no short of dominant.
While the teams that they've faced have not been very good, I think he's back. Look at his swings and misses. Look at the swings and misses rate. It's almost doubled. He's mixing up his pitches really well. He's got much more command of his fastball. He's got much more command of his secondary pitches. The guy looks like he's just feeling it right now. He's healthy. He's working it. I believe Justin Verlander's back. And I think he's a great compliment to a guy like a Jordan Zimmerman. And Jordan Zimmerman's injury, that's going to cause some level of concern. But at this point, you got Justin Verlander. You got him moving. That works out because now Verlander can sit there and hold down the helm of the ace while Jordan Zimmerman gets better from his grade 1 groin injury. How concerned does that have you?
Well, the good thing is that once you've seen it, everyone was a little bit panicky, like, oh boy, did he just tear his groin? is this potentially a season-ending type thing? Is this something that's going to take him out for a longer period of time? So when I saw that, I'm like, oh boy, of course, we're rolling now. Another big piece goes down, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. It's time to panic.
Dude, when that happened, I was like, he's going to get into the 7th, 8th. He'll probably pitch a complete game today. He was just rolling around and just mowing dudes down.
And the interesting part was this one day before his 30th birthday, and so that's the age when pitchers start potentially looking like running backs in the NFL, where you go, uh-oh, is his arm going to break down? I would have thought that he would have, grabbed his arm first before hurting his groin, because he has a history of, having arm problems. So I thought if something was, every pitch, every start that he makes, I'm like, okay, please let Jordan Zimmermann not blow out his arm again, because, he's any start away from re-injuring his arm. But he's been dominant. He's been great. And then the tests come out, and it's just a grade 1 strain, which is very good in terms of the fact that he's probably just going to miss the one start, and he'll be back. Now, the issue is, though, is he going to favor it? Is he going to be coming back like at 90%? And does he have to make some mechanical adjustments? So I'll be definitely tuning in his first start back to see, does he still have his command? Is he still willing to go full force and not be scared to re-injure it? But I think if he comes back healthy, dude's got stuff. He is a guy that's just an innings eater. He's a warrior. And that's what is another contributing factor, is the starters have done a little bit better, and they've gone 6, 7, 8 innings sometimes later in games, which allows the bullpen to be really, that's when it's used at its peak capacity, is when Brad can go to the bullpen in the 8th. You got a handful of guys that you call setup guys, and you get to K-Rod. But when he's getting to the bullpen in the 5th, 6th inning, it's just a struggle because it's just a hodgepodge right now of guys. Alex Wilson's playing a little bit better. He's been more effective. Wilson and Lowe have been tinkering with their mechanics, but the confidence level is still like wait and see in my mind. So if the starters can do better and continue to do what they've been doing, then you'll start seeing what you've asked for, 2 out of 3 on the road, because they're still under 500 versus teams that are above 500. So you're doing what you're supposed to do, beating the garbage teams. Let's see if you can take what you've done this stretch and apply it to teams that are above 500.
I think it'll be interesting how he comes back and how soon he comes back. Right now, they're going to just skip one start with Jordan Zimmermann. The issue is it's a groin injury. These linger. It's not like you sit there, you take 2 days off, you rest it, you come back, and everything's good. These things can be a problem throughout the course of the season. This might be an issue all the way up until the All-Star break. And if he does have to play in the All-Star game because he has been playing so well, what does that do? Is there a way he can take a pass? If he takes a pass, is the league going to force him to miss another start when he goes to come back? Because that's what they're doing now. So this is an issue that will have to be watched closely. But you're right. Jordan Zimmermann, Justin Verlander, that combo helps lead you into your bullpen the way you want it to go. You want those guys going in the 8th, 9th inning, 7th inning if you have to, because it works to its optimal level when that's taking place. K-Rod the other night got his 400th save. He looks like he's just in the zone right now as well, mowing dudes down, doing what he's supposed to do. At this point, if Zimmermann can come back and we don't have a huge issue with that groin injury, thumbs up, we're gonna be okay. The big issue is we've got to get a third pitcher here, because Anibal Sanchez, honestly, I mean,
the smart move.
He's not good right now.
Smart move. Put him in the bullpen. That's a smart move.
Have him be your long relief guy.
That's the guy.
But who are you going to bring up? You're going to bring up a Shane Green. He's now working on a AAA start as he rehabs from his blister injury. You've got Michael Fulmer, who looks really good. Looks like he might be a talent, but I think he's better designated right now to be a 5th starter for your team. And then you've got Mike Pelfrey as well. And I don't know what Mike Pelfrey is. Daniel Norris is getting beat up in AAA right now. He doesn't look good. Matt Boyd, I mean, I like what he's done. And if you're going to roll the dice with a guy, you might as well roll the dice with him, because when he has had spot starts or when he has come into games, he's looked really well and he's looked slightly dominant. But Anibal Sanchez isn't good. Mike Pelfrey, I never liked the signing. Michael Fulmer looks good, but what are you going to do
this
here?
Is his first big go-round in Major League Baseball.
Exactly.
They got to pay attention to his arm and make sure they don't overuse him, because he hasn't been used to pitching this many innings so far in his career. And you don't want a situation where you got a young guy, a talent, a guy that you're looking to be maybe the future ace of the staff. You blow out his arm early in his career. So he may not be a guy that's going to be in the rotation a hell of a lot longer.
On top of that, factor in more tape that is seen on the guy and what he's doing. The hitters get wise to it real quick, especially in the major leagues. They understand what's going on. They watch the tape. They study the scouting reports. The coaches do that. I mean, you've got 2 or 3 coaches that their main job is to sit there and watch the opposing pitcher and to see what he's doing out there. So when you come back to the dugout, they're like, oh, hey, next time you go up there, you're going to want to look for this. You're going to want to try that. Next thing you know, balls are getting blasted out of the park because now there's some tape and some footage on the guy. That's a situation that will also have to be watched. I mean, the way that this starting rotation is put together, it's like a giant hodgepodge. It's not good after you get by Justin Verlander and now a nicked up Jordan Zimmerman.
So that means you potentially have to trade an asset in order to get that starting pitcher.
Oh, so do you still want to trade Miguel Cabrera? Is that what you're saying?
Give me credit for the segue, bro. That was professional.
That was perfect.
See, okay. So let's set the scene, and I know you want to do it, so go ahead. Set the scene as to why we're talking about this.
Go ahead.
I will. Okay, good.
Go ahead. You please.
I was correct in judging that we should trade Miguel Cabrera. I was incorrect in terms of my value assessment at the time. Last week,
yes, because you wanted just a bullpen arm and maybe a starter.
And I said I at least want a fourth or fifth starter. Now this is great because he's made my job easier. Now we can get a 2 or a 3 starter and maybe 2 bullpen arms.
God.
Okay,
You're
listen.
out of your mind.
Listen. This is not a ridiculous argument. It's not a right or wrong. It's just a preference type of thing. For this season, if you're going all in and you're going to add a couple arms, a couple bullpen pieces, you're going to add people, okay, Miggy's going to be a piece. But now I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, I'm not looking at the 2016 season. I'm in the office smoking a cigar. I'm Al Avila. I'm calling in my meeting, calling in my Chinese food order, and we're going to have a serious talk. And in my serious talk, I'm going to ask, what do you guys think? Is this a World Series team? And I'm going to go, okay, we got to figure out how to tell these fans that it is for a long time so they keep buying tickets. Next on the agenda, okay, beyond 2016, what are we going to do? How do we keep this train rolling where we can draw at least 2-3 million people every single summer? Who is the guy? Who are the people that you could look to expend? And if you want to add pieces, if you want to be a world championship caliber club in a couple years, you got to start looking at some assets. Miguel Cabrera is an asset. So is there a team out there that's closer? Maybe the Cubs, Boston, teams that are really willing to take on that salary. Hell, even the Yankees may be willing to make a splash. Yes, I would still consider fielding offers for Miguel Cabrera and see what his value is. Because here's the thing, cuz they don't win the World Series this year. You got teams out there that are mashing the baseball, playing really well. You know, the Cubs, Boston. You got teams like Baltimore who are up and coming, hungry. You got teams that are close, that want to make that splash. The Tigers, in my opinion, big picture-wise, are not a World Series team. So I was of the camp beforehand, and it's documented, noted, that it's time to rebuild. I'm saying the window is already shut. Yes, it's great, and yes, it's an unpopular opinion because we've won a lot of games, but remember, we're 1 game above 500 as of this recording. You're playing, average teams. If you take this group and put them in against elite talent in Major League Baseball, it's not going to measure up. So my opinion is it's time to look for the future, look to 2017 to 2020, and look to compete in those years. And with that, you don't want to be a team that holds on to their stars too long. So my formula would be, okay, pick up the phone and see what I could get for Miguel and hope that he continues this so that every day I pick up the phone, the offers go up, the value goes up.
You do realize he is second on your team in RBI. He is first on your team in home runs. He is third on your team in batting average. And
beautiful.
Basically,
maybe I get an ace.
Basically, the last 7 days, he's hitting near 575.
Stock is hot. I would look to maybe get a second ace or a second starter.
This team started winning when he started hitting. You do realize this, right? Go back and look at what happened. This team came around when he started blasting the ball everywhere.
But this team started winning when the teams that they were facing were Major League Baseball's lower tier.
Miguel Cabrera took basically the first month and a half off, and he's right back where he should be. Right back where he should be. For a career, he's a 321 batting average hitter, okay, for his career. Right now, after taking a month and a half off, he's at 324.
Are you willing to say that, okay, I'm just going to ride or die with 2016 and let's not worry about 2017? My stance is that
You're
it's
always
time.
worried about the future. You always have to be worried about the future.
And so then if you're worried about the future, then the idea is you got to continue to replenish that minor league system because you're going to start needing to bring some of these guys up because the starters aren't that great, the bullpen needs work, and you're going to have guys that naturally are going to move on. So you got to continue to replenish that minor league system. Who's going to bring you the biggest haul? Miguel Cabrera.
Last year, you traded away a bunch of pieces, and in your minor league system, you now have 3 guys who are potential ace prospects with a Michael Fulmer, a Matt Boyd, and a Daniel Norris.
Yeah, David Price, right? That was David Price's move.
Yep, you traded David Price for those guys. You've got those three guys, and that's your next wave of pitching talent. You're seeing what Steven Moya can do right now. He looks like he's a major league caliber player. He's got to sit there and start driving the ball a little bit better. He's hitting a lot of singles right now. The way that this team is set up for this year and for next year, 2018, that's a question mark. That's something that can be addressed either down the road, and I hate kicking the can down the road, or later on in the season once we see what this team is actually going to be. Because do you believe that what you're seeing right now is what you're going to get for the rest of the season? Are they going to be about a 500 team?
Yeah, I said at no point in this season will they be above 6 games over 500. That's my opinion. I think they're a 500 team. They're going to have streaks of winning and losing, and it's going to be based upon, the pitching and the offense. But so now here's the thing. If you slot everybody down one, if JV is a 3 and Annabelle is a 4, you slot Fulmer in 5, you could put Shane Green and some of the other guys in the bullpen. And if you trade Miguel for a bona fide number 2, you got Zimmerman, bona fide number 2, Verlander, Sanchez, Fulmer. In the future, you could roll in 2017 and maybe contend with that.
So if this team finishes the year with 87 wins, well, I think 87 wins will get you into the playoffs. You're not going to be happy about this?
No, I'm not going to be happy.
Because I'm taking what you're saying. You're saying that at no point during this season they will be more than 6 games above 500.
That's my opinion.
So 87 games. I'm gonna give me 1 second here. Let me pull something up here.
Yes, go ahead.
See what last year looked like.
And so what my thinking is that yes, Miguel Cabrera is awesome, but in order to replenish a minor league system, in order to get prospects, you got to build through the draft and you got to trade potential assets. You have to be willing to recognize that if you're going to, really look to the future and maybe get back there faster, maybe take 1 year off where you're not in the postseason 2017. You make some solid moves. You come back in 2018, 2019, you could contend if you maybe move the likes of a Miguel Cabrera, maybe a JD, and get a lot of prospects that pan out.
So 87 wins last year would have got you firmly into the playoffs. You'd been a wild card, but it would have got you into the playoffs.
Listen, they can get to the postseason. Listen, we're not at that point. When your payroll is $200 million, there's one goal.
You expect the World Series.
The ring.
But the thing is,
the whole title.
You have to get into the playoffs in order for that to be a possibility. So this team has to play to get into the playoffs. And we've seen it before with the St. Louis Cardinals. We've seen it with them where they've eked into the playoffs at basically 500. I think they were like 82 and 80 one year. And that was in 2006. And you've seen what happened there. They beat the pants off our Tigers.
So what happened last Sunday's game right after I said that they should trade him? He's standing there at the batter's box, and he takes a nice fat baseball to the knee, and he's hobbling. I'm like, well, there you go. Is Miguel Cabrera in your mind?
And then he comes back the next day and bashes 2 out of the park.
Hey, you have to recognize there is a risk there that every day that he plays, every day that he trots to first and tries to make his moves on the bases, he's not going to be there.
You're absolutely
Of course,
correct.
If he's in the lineup, he's great. And what I'm saying is my philosophy is if you got an asset.
So you're managing this team scared, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not managing scared.
You are. Because you're like, well, what if he gets hurt? Well, what happens? Every time you play a game, there's a possibility that you're going to get hurt. We've had this conversation before, I feel like.
Yes, we have.
It's like deja vu all over again.
I'm saying
and
trade him.
I'm making the same exact point I made to you then.
Trade him with the chance of earning that ring and putting the ring on your finger 2018. If you do that, I think the chances of the ring sliding on your finger in 2018 is 70% more likely than it's going to be in 2016. So with that said, that's why I say it.
So 2018 rolls around. Are you re-signing JD Martinez because his contract's up after 2017? So you're going to sit there, you're going to back a Brinks truck up for him? Because you're going to have to if he keeps doing what he's doing. What about Nicky C? Because I'm pretty sure Nicky C's contract will be up by then as well.
I would, yes. If you lose $30 million off your books, I'm sure you have some money floating around to pay these guys.
And that's the problem there. I don't think anybody's going to take
might not be feasible.
I don't think anybody's going to take a $30 million contract. Now, you're right. They were able to get out of the Prince Fielder deal. They are still paying on the Prince Fielder deal. They will be paying on the Prince Fielder deal until, I believe, 2018. So that's a little bit of an issue because now you're just shelling money out for players that you don't even have anymore.
But now, here's the other way around it in terms of the number crunchers and the business sense. Maybe they sit around the table and they go, you know what, our payroll has been $200 million for, it's been elevated in the top 10 for the better part of the last 3 to 4 years. maybe let's try to find and really hone in on these talented guys that have these great sabermetric numbers, but let's keep the payroll modified in the 140 to 170 range. Let's scale back the numbers. Let's bring down the payrolls. Let's get a little bit more grit, a little bit more guys like a Craig Counsell who are gritty guys, a little bit more like Placido Polanco's out there instead of the big mashers like Miguel Cabrera and JV. Let's scale it back because look who's at the top. Baltimore's payroll is not up there. Toronto's payroll is not up there. Tampa Bay's payroll is not up there. Granted, they're not, super successful. But I'm saying, how do we scale down the payroll, still have success? That involves adding pieces that are a little bit cheaper price and moving talented individuals. And that may involve trading JD next year.
So you want to go to a Moneyball approach, basically.
Yeah. Well, listen, fives, all you got to do is look at the numbers.
Yeah.
I want my cop.
Yeah.
Chris Ilitch is going to take.
I want to go to Moneyball. Yeah.
Chris Ilitch is going to take over.
How many World Series have been won with Moneyball?
Hey,
They don't know, right?
Why not be the first?
The silence.
Why not be the first?
That's right. None.
Oh, come on.
Absolutely.
You haven't. Well, you haven't won with this approach.
Here's the deal. I agree. I think they spend money very irresponsibly. I think the way that they have written some of these contracts and the way that they have done things as an organization is atrocious. All right. I think their minor league system is not very good. I think it looks a lot better now than it has in the last 5 to 10 years, however. So I'm willing to sit there and ride it out for another year or two to see what they can develop and what they can cultivate either through the draft or through what they've already traded for. If for some reason there's a piece out there or somebody wants a piece that you have and you can trade them away and you're going to get something much better in return, I'm okay with it. Do it. Do what you got to do. I don't see how trading Miguel Cabrera right now in his career is going to help you win a World Series. You're right. Maybe 2018, some of those prospects coming in to pay off. Generally, what happens, though, is when a team conducts a trade, whether it be in any sport, it doesn't matter, but baseball more than most because things can go very wrong in baseball. When you trade away a given commodity, a known prospect of what you have, a guy like Miguel Cabrera, we said it. For his career, the guy mashes 321, generally hits somewhere near 30 home runs and gives you over 100 RBI. He's got an on-base percentage of somewhere close to 400, okay? You know what you have with him. You know he's going to hit the ball. You know what he's going to do, and he's worked his way into being a very good first baseman. Trade him away for 2, 3, 4 prospects. Generally, 1, maybe 2 of those prospects will pan out, and they will give you something, but it's not going to be what you're getting from this guy right now. And I know he's 33, and I know that he's starting to break down because the last 2 years he's been hurt and he's been hobbled. And you're right. During the weekend series, he took one off the knee. You got nervous. I got nervous. It wasn't that big of a deal. The very next day, he came back after icing it down, and he smashed the ball. I just don't see the point of trading away your best asset right now. And I don't know who's going to pick him up for the money that he's making. But I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I have a fair argument in that I'm looking big picture-wise. Big picture-wise, I'm not seeing a scenario in which this team is in the upper echelon of baseball talent. And like I said, my mind is firmly in the rebuild category. But if ownership is desperate, like some people are saying, if Chris Ilitch is the money guy, if he's willing to shell out another, big contract in the $15 to $20 million range for a number 2 starter, hell, go out there and get at the trade deadline. Go out there and make some moves that will go for it all in. I mean, you really are setting yourself up for the ultimate failure. But at the same time, hell, why not go for it? If that's in your budget and you can add 2 to 3 players at the trade deadline, that's what you need. You need another starter, another bullpen arm, another utility gritty guy.
When we sat there and we opened the season talking Tigers and we previewed their season, how many wins did you think they were going to have? I don't recall what you said.
I believe I was in the neighborhood of in the 80s, in between like 85 and 90.
Okay, because I think I was 87.
Mm-hmm.
So if they finish the season at 87, I'm going to take it all day. I think 87 will put you into the playoffs at this point. Going into the year, I don't think any of us thought that the White Sox were going to be as good as the White Sox have been thus far. I thought the matchup that was going to have to come down to Kansas City. And Kansas City right now is only a game ahead of us. Here's the deal. You basically blew up for about a month's time. Just crapped all over the bed, then you decided to roll around in it and not get up. You're now rectifying that. And you're taking advantage of some pretty bad teams, but that's what you're supposed to do. Most teams in baseball are either 3 or 4 games above 500, 3 or 4 games below 500. You right now are about 3 games out of first place. If you can sit there and make that up over the next, I'd say 9 days, you're going to be in a really good spot because you can take advantage of the Chicago White Sox. You're going to play them twice in June. You sit there, win both those series. That's all you do, win both those series. And you're going to be sending your ace, the guy that you sat there, you cultivated, the guy that you brought in, you planted him, you put some Miracle Grow on him, dumped a little bit of water, you sang to him every day, you brushed up his leaves a little bit. Your guy, Justin Verlander, the guy who's gone out and has pitched amazingly his last 4 starts. He's going to take on the hottest guy in baseball right now with Chris Sale. They're going to sit there, and right now they're projected to match up. You sit there, if you can get a win in that game, take that W all day long. You have an opportunity. It's yours for the taking if you want it. You can sit there and you can catapult yourself and jumpstart and take over this division in baseball.
So right now you're feeling a lot better about the Tigers. You're feeling comfortable they can take what they've done in this last week, in this last stretch, and carry it over versus good teams?
I think there's a possibility for it to happen, yes, because it's just a correction. Baseball is the weirdest sport ever, man. It's so strange because you'll sit there and you'll play like crap for a month and a half, then you'll sit there and come out of nowhere and you'll play great and you'll be white hot for 2 months. And then you'll sit there and you'll stumble a little bit for 15 days and then you'll be hot for 10. In the end, you're hitting, like Miguel Cabrera, you're hitting 321 at the end of the season. And nobody's like, oh, hey, you remember that stretch back in early April where he was really horrible? Nobody's talking about that because the guy's doing what he normally does. It's just how baseball is.
Did you hear Victor Martinez basically addressing the doc in his post-game presser?
Yeah, basically calling you out.
He's like, all the fans out there that are asking about Miggy or wanting to let him go, how you like me now? It's like I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
He was none too pleased with you.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, Miggy can't take, 6 weeks to get started when your team is under 500. I mean, they say it's the old adage, you can't win a division in April, but you can sure as hell lose it. And if you lose 11 of 13, you're going to be in trouble. So, hell, I'm being realistic here that stretch of baseball wasn't good.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And you know what? The fans had every right to get on him. They had every right to get on Brad Ausmus as well. You pay your money. This is what you're watching, and it wasn't good baseball. It was bad base running, which is basically unforgivable if you ask me. It was not good pitching. The bullpen was blowing up. The starters looked disinterested, and the bats were not coming alive at all. It was a lot of soft outs. It was bad baseball. The thing is, they've gotten healthy in a hurry. They're looking good right now. They just have to keep winning. You got to sit there, keep winning these series, keep winning series up until you get to the White Sox. When you take on the White Sox in the beginning of June, and then you'll take the White Sox on again later in June, you sit there, you need to win those, both of those. Those are important. You also have to sit there and you have to double up on Kansas City when you take on Kansas City. Those are the important ones right now.
It's still exciting time, man. The weather's been nice. Check in with the Detroit Tigers. They're a fun watch. A little bit bad news for Brad Ausmus. His mom passed, so he's sitting out Wednesday's game. Gene Lamont's taking over. And, of course, Anibal Sanchez, 34 pitches already into the second inning, gave up 2 runs. It's not looking good. Philadelphia's up as we're recording this 2-0. So, again, the same question mark that we got, Anibal Sanchez. Tough dude. That's a tough guy.
Dude, the worst part is he was the one that was going to sway that pitching staff, whether you'd be really good or you'd be really bad. And he's done a horrible job thus far this season. I mean, and the thing is, once he gets to 100 pitches, he's done. You got to pull him. You can't allow him to go to 110 because he's going to give up 2 major home runs. It's just, I don't know. The book's out on Anibal Sanchez, and it's not good right now.
All right, let's get out of here. Another great podcast recording. Episode 146 in the books. Thank you. Support our sponsors. Feel free, interact with us. And I want to give a shout out to Steve. This dude blows up our Twitter. He loves us. Steve's
always asking questions about something, bro.
He's got questions. He's got opinions. He's managing all the talent here on the podcast. He's trying to slot the shows. A guy like Steve is a good dude. So, Steve, thank you for listening. Your tweets are always welcome. Keep them coming. The memes, the GIFs. Keep them about Vito, dude. They're funny, and I like looking at them. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John McAroon. See you next time.
Go Tigers. You're like, I brought you flowers, and I threw some candy at you. Now get naked.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I have voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me. They talk to me. They tell me Show me